Welcome to the FarmBits podcast.
FarmBits is proudly produced by Nebraska Digital Agriculture Team and hosted by students at the University of Nebraska.
The FarmBits podcast comes to you each week to discuss the trends, the realities, and the value of digital agriculture.
Through interviews with experts, producers, and innovators from across the agricultural industry, we hope that you step away from each episode with new practical knowledge of digital agriculture technology.
Hello, FarmBits followers, and welcome to another episode of the FarmBits podcast. I'm Cesario.
And I'm Emily Hanson, and we're glad to have you with us as we begin diving into the topic of digital tools in animal production.
Today we are joined by Meghan Bochanski, Growth Manager at Performance Livestock Analytics.
Meghan covers areas in western Nebraska, Wyoming, Colorado, and Montana. With that, let's jump into this episode with Meghan.
My name is Meghan Bochanski. I am a growth manager for Performance Livestock Analytics, and I started with PLA back in April of 2021, I believe it was. I was really drawn to this job because of the opportunities that I see with technology in the livestock industry and the impressive product and customer service reputation that Performance Livestock Analytics carries with it. PLA started as an idea back in 2015. Two co-founders looked for a solution to better automate data and analytics for their own family livestock operations. When they were unable to find a solution, they combined their livestock experience with their knowledge of agricultural technology to start Performance Livestock Analytics. Then Performance Beef, or the Performance Beef platform, was officially launched in 2017, and then in early 2020, PLA was acquired by Zoetis.
That's really cool. So where is PLA based out of, and what areas do you cover specifically?
Sure. So PLA is originally based out of Ames, Iowa, but we did just recently move to all employees being fully remote. So I personally cover western Nebraska, northern Colorado, Wyoming, and Montana, but we do have a sales team spread across many states.
That's pretty cool. And what kind of products does the PLA offer for these customers?
Yeah, so PLA offers several platforms designed to provide livestock producers with data to make better marketing and management decisions and really help them boost their profitability. We offer Performance Beef, which is a cattle management software that allows you to simplify feeding and health data recording. We also offer our Cattle Crush app, which is a real-time cattle market app that gives insights to producers to make better, more profitable decisions. Coming soon, we do have our Performance Ranch cow-calf management software launching. And then to round out our portfolio, we do offer genetic testing to help producers gather the information they need on farm to make better selection decisions.
So kind of going into Performance Beef a little bit more, what kind of information does the software track, and what is it designed to do?
Yeah, so Performance Beef is a very easy to use cloud-based software that generates real-time closeout reports and invoices, all while monitoring animal health and analyzing trends in feed intake, costs, and performance. Basically, a Bluetooth scale head tracks every pound of feed loaded and delivered, and shared account access allows for anyone to easily feed and monitor that data from anywhere. So the system is really designed for any feeding operation that is wanting to improve their profitability and simplify their lives.
And how about the Performance Range product? Who is that designed for, and what data does it track? How will the Performance Range work with the Performance Beef? Is there any interaction between them?
Performance Ranch will be a cow-calf platform that will offer health, herd inventory, nutrition, and genetic data, and really help producers pull insights from data to make more informed and profitable management decisions. It will essentially be a calving book on the go with a chute site application. So if there are any listeners interested in Performance Ranch, be sure to sign up for more release information on performancelivestockanalytics.com, and our marketing team will keep you up to date. So Performance Ranch and Performance Beef were built to complement each other. One is built for a feeding operation, and then one is built for a cow-calf operation. And the two platforms will be able to talk to each other and share data based on user permissions.
Yeah, that's really cool how those apps are going to work together and how that information can be shared. Can these apps be used offline if a producer is in an area with low cell service?
Yes. So Performance Beef can be used to feed with one device or enter health data when there's no self-service available. Or a user on Performance Ranch can enter a calf into the system with no service. And then for both platforms, when the device reconnects with Wi-Fi or cellular service, all that data will upload to the cloud.
That's amazing. It's amazing how these data can help the farmers on the decision making, right? And what is the benefit of using this technology to track the livestock data?
That's a great question. Using technology to track livestock data is more efficient than doing it manually. So it leaves less room for human error and eliminates having to look through pages of notes or at note cards or having to look back through old text messages for treatments, which I would argue most people are familiar with doing. Performance Beef really provides a platform to keep all this data stored in one spot with the ability to access this information from anywhere. So it gives an operation the ability to streamline protocols and pull accurate analytics on their cattle.
Yeah, that's really cool. So in order to get some of this information, are there any requirements to use the app? Do you have to have a certain type of phone or use certain ear tags or have a certain brand of scale?
Yes. So the feeding and shoot side application of Performance Beef is only compatible with an iPhone or an iPad. So a user needs to have at least one of these devices to feed or enter treatments with. The producer will also need a point Bluetooth scale head that will communicate with their device while feeding or shoot side. And in addition, there is the option to use low frequency or ultra high frequency tag with this software. So in that case, the chute would be fully set up to be completely automated.
With the specific scales that work with the app, do you offer those to producers or do they have to go and find them themselves?
Yeah, so we do offer those scales to producers. Essentially, we just look at their current load cell and power cord hookups, and then we make sure the base on our scale head will match right onto that. So it's a pretty easy process.
That's cool. And besides the systems, the iOS and the scales that they have to find, are there any subscriptions that they have to pay in order to acquire these products and keep paying?
Yes, Performance Beef is a subscription-based product. It is $195 a month or a yearly subscription of $2,106 a year. And all app updates and support line calls are included in this subscription.
So does that subscription cover all of the products from Performance Livestock Analytics or is it just the Performance Beef product?
So that subscription would just cover the Performance Beef product. We are waiting to release our Performance Ranch app before we release the subscription price for that as well.
Okay. Um, so you mentioned the Cattle Crush app and that helps with markets. How often would that need to be synced to get the most up-to-date information about pricing?
Yes, so all of our apps are cloud-based products. So they are constantly uploading data from your devices to the internet and vice versa. So all of our products are real time.
And does these updates they happen like based on different regions as well? Because we know that some cost can varies between some regions of the Midwest, for example, or how does that work?
Definitely. So the app goes off of real-time markets from the Chicago Board of Trade. So it's across the board. Everyone would be looking at those numbers.
Perfect. And you also mentioned that we acquire a lot of data, right, between all these apps that and products that the PLA offers. But does the company offer a customer assistance for decision making, or is that all up to the customer?
Yeah, that's a great question. Customer service is something that we pride ourselves on here at PLA. We really have the mentality of always keeping the customer first. So when a producer is interested in our software, we do have an excellent growth manager and inside sales team that will arrange for either an in-person or remote demo. This allows the producer to see Performance Beef firsthand, understand how the platform runs, and then just see what equipment they might need. Many times, the customer will also invite a trusted consultant, such as a nutritionist or a veterinarian, just to become part of that discussion to make sure all questions are answered and make sure our software is the right fit. If the producer makes the decision to move forward with the software, we have an onboarding team that will train the customer on entering all information into the system and get them off the ground and feeding. And when they are successfully trained on Performance Beef, we do have a fully staffed support line team that is ready to help. And that includes weekends, after business hours, and even available on holidays to make sure our customers always have the support they need.
Yeah, it's really great that you guys have that for your customers, so that if they need help, they always have someone to go to. Do you have any customer success stories that you'd be willing to share with us?
Yeah, one customer experience that I really enjoyed was I had a customer that was hesitant about moving forward with Performance Beef because he was not completely confident with technology at that point. He custom feeds and was looking into Performance Beef for a way to save some time when it came to sending out invoices at the end of every month. He was spending days at a time pulling numbers to get these invoices sent out. So once he signed up and started feeding with the software, he was really pleased with how easy it was to use. And I think what really surprised him is how much money he had been losing on pens being overfed, even if it was only by a few £100s, and then that feed not being billed out. So he was eating those feed costs. Now, since every pound of feed was being tracked and billed to the right groups, he knew exactly where he was sitting with cattle and with where his feed inventory was at. So he paid for the program within a month with tracking every pound of feed and is still a happy customer to this day.
Yeah, that's a really great story.
Yeah, that's amazing how the technologies have been used to help these farmers around the US. And what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys faced working with the Performance Beef software?
Sure. So one of the biggest challenges I've faced is I think many people worry that we are going to completely change their current workflow with implementing a new technology. But something to keep in mind is the software is really built to aid a producer in what they are already doing. So we are providing a digital tool to increase efficiency and productivity, and a tool that will really fit into those daily, weekly, and monthly tasks.
That's amazing. And do you guys offer kind of like a training for the customers on how to use these apps, or how does that work?
Yep. So when a customer decides to onboard with Performance Beef, we have a great customer onboarding team that goes through a pre-setup meeting, we call it. So basically, they spend about an hour with the customer, teaching them how to enter all of their information into Performance Beef. Once they're done that, then either a growth manager goes out to the customer's operation, or this is done over the phone. But we are able to install the scale head for them and then make sure they're able to feed and make sure all their questions are answered.
Yeah, it's great that you guys have that almost relationship built in with the customer to walk them through every step of that process. So what are you most looking forward to in the future with Performance Livestock Analytics?
This is a great question. I am very excited for the future of PLA and the continued digital solutions I feel that we can bring to producers. I look forward to continuing to assist producers who are just getting involved with technology on their operations, or producers who are wanting to take the next step into individual animal management or genetic testing.
That's great. That's great how the company has been looking to the future for these farmers. And if our listeners want to learn more about the company, and all these apps, the Performance Beef, the Performance Ranch, or even the Cattle Rush, where can they go?
Sure. So we are on most social media channels. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. So feel free to follow us or reach out to our team on there. I would also suggest visiting our website, performancelivestockanalytics.com. There is a request a demo button that I would highly recommend listeners click on, and it allows them to get connected to a sales rep.
That's great that you guys have so many social media platforms for customers or people who are just interested in what you guys do. Is there anything that we didn't talk about today that you would like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I would just reiterate, I guess, that if any listeners are even slightly curious about Performance Beef, Performance Ranch, Cattle Crush, or any of our genetic testing products, just reach out and we would be happy to visit with them.
Yeah, so now coming towards the last question of our interview here, a tradition on the FarmBits podcast is to ask for a piece of advice. What advice do you have for the producers who are just starting to use these digital platforms in their livestock operations?
That's a great question. I would tell producers, don't be afraid to ask questions, especially if technology is new to them. There are a lot of resources out there to help. And if there's someone on the fence about trying out a new technology, take the time to research it, visit with your team, talk to your nutritionist or veterinarian and get their input. Really find what fits your operation and what will help you be most successful in achieving your goals.
Thank you very much to Meghan for taking the time to join this episode of the FarmBits podcast. It's really exciting how the performance livestock apps are able to help producers on tracking their cattle data for decision making.
One of my favorite parts of this episode is how the Performance Beef app is able to communicate and share data with the Performance Ranch app.
Yeah, I agree with you, Emily. But my favorite part was how these apps can be updated in real time to give producers valuable information for their management.
I hope you enjoyed that episode, and we look forward to sharing another digital ag story with you next week on FarmBits.
Thank you for taking the time to join us today on the FarmBits podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts to be informed about the latest content each week.
We welcome your feedback, so if you have comments or questions for us, please reach out to us over email, on Twitter, or in the review sections of your favorite podcast platforms. Our contact information can be found in the show notes.
We would like to thank Nebraska Extension for their support of this podcast and their commitment to provide high-quality informational material to members of the agriculture community in Nebraska and beyond.
The opinions expressed by the host and guests on this podcast are solely their own and do not reflect the views of Nebraska Extension or the University of Nebraska-Lincoln.
We look forward to you joining us next week for another episode of the FarmBits.